So this is a first for Rockwood. Welcome everybody, Josh the RV Nerd of Bishop's RV down here at Forest River today. Actually, Rockwood's PDI facility specifically. Interestingly, Rockwood has their own PDI facility in addition to like the Forest River PDI facilities. They actually go through more layers of checks and balances, which is probably one of the reasons they have one of the best followings out there in the industry. But historically, Rockwood's really been known for making small stuff. I've actually long felt that their fifth wheels are one of the most criminally underrated offerings out there in the industry. And because when you look at this, I think at a glance, because Rockwood's very subtle, they're very understated. They're not flash, they're not sizzle, they're not in your face. They maybe kind of get outshined quite literally in the glitter factor by some other things out there. But it's the fit, finish, and thought process that generally puts together a very strong package here. And historically, they just didn't make the very large class of fifth wheels. So they just didn't work for some people. This is the first time they have ever made a 40-foot fifth wheel. And as they increase their lineup here, their 40-footers is where you'll start to see 6-point auto leveling introduced, which is also something they've never done. Now, things like their dual composite walls, the plywood tongue and groove flooring, the XL vent fans, this is also one of the first times I've ever seen one of these with the capacity for a triple air conditioning system. And this is the first time they've ever built a front bath ensuite plus traveler guest half bath right by the entry door right there. And overall, I think it's a pretty successful floor plan. There's a couple things that I personally don't like, or you may not like, that I want to kind of point out as we go here. But I think it's a surprisingly strong offering from a brand that you don't normally associate with really high level fifth wheel execution. But that's why I put these videos together. Let me know what you think of this one as we go. Where did they nail it? And where did they fail it? Now, for the most part, you've seen this layout before, but every manufacturer has their own little different executions. And there's some interesting odds and ends that I've kind of discovered going through this one here. I'd be kind of curious overall what you think about this decor. They go with kind of a two-tone thing, and there's certain places where I stand in the RV that I like it, and there's certain places that I don't like. From front to back like this, I kind of like it. From back to front, there's spots in the kitchen I'm like, I don't know that I'd have gone with that. Little things I want to point out though, like the fact that they go with totally seamless like header fascia right here, and the fact that you don't see a machine gun line of staples in it. It's just those little fit and finish details I look for. Like, they don't use what's called GIMP molding. They where the walls meet the roof, they don't put a piece of trim there to hide imperfections, because it just tends to be a little bit tighter. Like, they have a barreled ceiling in here slightly, which complicates their cabinetry process. But I don't hear from Rockwood owners, big, small, or in between, that they have cabinetry problems. It's not that they're using massively different materials or anything like that. It's the fact that Rockwood pays their staff, I think, a little bit better. And as a result, they have just greater staff retention. And the people working at Rockwood and Flagstaff generally have been there far longer than the industry average. And I think that yields just better execution of the product. Because think of it, forget RVs for a second. Think of it like a sports team, like a football team. It does not matter if you have the best playbook in the league. If you don't execute the plays, you're not going to win. The team that executes their playbook better is the one that's going to win. And I think that's kind of the message I have on Rockwood. They are executing their playbook better than nearly anybody else out there. So I've made a video on this. I'm not just spouting it out in this video. I've said it other times. There's some excellent products out there. I like Alliance. I like Brinkley. Jayco has gotten very strong the last couple of years once again. Pound for pound, dollar for dollar, I feel that Rockwood Flagstaff is perhaps the best value RV on the market. Value is a subjective thing, but I feel what you pay versus what you get and how well they do it, they are a very strong offering. That's my personal nerdy 2 cents on this little equation right here. Now, if I take a squat over here at the theater seat, you can see that it is absolutely not a neck wrecker. This is the most Boardwalk and Park Place direct view entertainment you could hope for. That is a dual, like, swing arm mounted pivoting smart TV, so if you want to face it toward the rear sofa, you totally could. Down below, obviously, we've got our electric space eating Tootsie Toaster in that carpetless floor flush slide. Both of the lower deck slides are carpetless. The upper deck slide also rack and pinion, though, so all rack and pinion slides all the way around, and they are, as they develop new floor plans, building them basically without heat vents. Something a lot of people don't realize. They're like, why doesn't this manufacturer just remove their heat vents? It's a big engineering change. It changes a lot of things in the RV and the knee bone to leg bone process. It's not just move the vents, because there's other stuff in the way that we generally can't see. So as they build new stuff, they're listening. I kind of like this very sort of natural, warm wood tone they have going on in here. But I think when you look at the kitchen, this is one of the areas where, when I started this video, I said my impression here is that this is something that looks and maybe strikes you perhaps more as that mid-size level product from the outside. But when you get in, you start looking all the solid surface stuff, the bigger stove, the bigger oven, the huge cabinetry, the symmetry, the big fridge that we have here. That's where you start seeing some of those higher level luxury features. But Rockwood is subdued. They don't make flashy, fancy, shiny cabinetry. They make function first, kind of understated, warmer, more homey, classic kind of things. And there's some times in the RV marketplace where people are looking for that, and there's some times where that's not what they want. And I feel like perhaps we're cycling out of the Las Vegas farmhouse edition cycle in the RV industry and maybe going, I feel like there's a split of people looking for ultra-modern residential design and the kind of classic warm tones that we're sort of looking at here today. Now, they did something here. I'm glad to see them starting to re-implement. They used to do this all the time, then they kind of got away from it, but they're re-implementing the folding armrests in a lot of their floor plans. The reason I like that is, what if you're a little thicker in the hips? You need a little more space. Well, that's nice. Or you got a dog that sits between you, or a grandbaby, or maybe you just like to snuggle. I don't know. You can do whatever you want. You know, it just gives you the options. Obviously, we have all the campside window coverage, and I think that slide out's like 6.5 foot tall. It is. So here's an easy barometer. I'm going to teach you how to fish on this a little bit when you're shopping RVs or watching videos even. These RV entry doors are generally pretty standardized, 6.5 foot tall. So when that door is the same height as the slide out, tells me we've got about a 6.5 foot tall slide. So if you stand up in there, getting up from the table, you're not going to concuss yourself. One of the other things that is kind of cool here is they've adopted a little bit of this twist and shout table setup. And I like this for a couple reasons. First of all, in that position, it feels less intrusive. It makes the floor plan look and feel more open. Secondly, this is primarily made to be a couple's camper. That's enough dining space for 2 folks. You can always turn the table if you have guests, but that campside overlook dining bar with desk potential, that's very cool. I like that. I think that's very, very fun. I also really appreciate they've got their windows fully hardwood framed out. Working our way over here into the kitchen space, the little entry area coffee bar. Even though this is a laminated wall RV, they're very conscious about the fact that people want their power outlets where they could reach them. Now, your interior walls of the RV are not laminated, but what I'm getting at is they always try to put the power outlets where I think you would generally want them, where they make the most sense. And where you'll also see that is when we get over here past the big fridge to the stove area. Working our way around, one of the nice little, it's just a feel-good kind of thing. They have the soft close drawers here. They don't run soft close cabinet doors, but they do run soft close drawers. Why the one and not the other? Well, you're going to have to ask Mr. Owl how many licks it takes to get to the center of a Tootsie Roll Pop. I don't know. Oh, something I forgot to mention is in that big pantry that's now behind us, they actually do have some power outlets in there, and those are adjustable shelves. So if you want to convert that over into another arrangement, you totally can. I kind of wanted to take a second to showcase that they do give you full sink cover, but they give you kind of the split drying dish rack right there, so you can use it however you want to. Now, this is such a small thing, but again, so useful. That segmented flatware drawer, that little utensil drawer right there, those little details are just so simple and so smart. But then we get again to the daily function features like this that I really like. If you're going to spend some time in an RV, an extended time, having a dedicated cutting board that you can also kind of tuck away is pretty nice, but also having every little nook and cranny available possible. They're just really doing a good job overall, I think, anyway. Over here, notice at the very bottom of the cabinet, they're starting to put toe kicks in like everything. That way, not only is this floor flush, but you can truly like belly right up to the bar where you can fully use the space without getting like lower back pain and strain, you know? Over here, we've already kind of looked at the entertainment center, but I noticed this has a little bit of something I've not seen a lot before that I'm going to call the deskertainment center. Because the dining table could kind of work as a desk space, but so could this. And frankly, the TV itself could act as an additional monitor. Now, that will mean that you've kneecapped your primary daytime entertainment space, but you have options in this floor plan to Burger King it and camp your way. And keeping on with that flame-broiled RV goodness, you've probably noticed the magnet holdbacks and the hidden hinges all the way through. This is, let me get you up here, because this is actually a very large upper cabinet space there. Something I should have done. Sorry, I've kind of failed you. I will figure out how to display it. It does have blackout roller shades. I'll get back to those in a minute. When I was going through this, though, I noticed something. They had this trifold sleeper sofa made a little bit differently. It sets flatter than most. A lot of trifold sleeper sofas, the person sleeping back here actually sleeps slightly inverted because most of those trifolds are actually made to install in a slide out. And even though we call these a flush floor slide out, they're not actually flush to the floor, not completely. They rest a little bit higher. So again, the thoughtfulness and the details. Now, remember when I said I feel like when you turn the table, it makes it look bigger? I figured out how to showcase that for you, because the two chairs side by side will be about the depth of the table in the east-west position, whereas right now I've got it more in a north-south orientation. And you can see how it kind of opens things up close to an extra foot right there. And here we go. This is what I meant to show you earlier. The nice blackout roller shade so you can blot out the sun like the arrows of the Persian army. Moving into the half bath right here. This is going to be very handy for traveling. You may have heard that snicker snack right there. That was a magnet holdback holding that door. Now, overall, you could see that I can do my toilet running man routine on this thing, which is very handy in case you got to make a run for the border after one too many Taco Bells on the road. But yeah, it's right next to the door. It's easy to get in. Still solid surface counters all the way through. And it's a simple bathroom, but like the outlet is where you need it. You still got a decent medicine cabinet. And I tell you, I don't want to point the camera all the way to the ceiling and make you motion sick. So while I'm backing up and resetting, take a look at the right side of the screen. And you see up there in the ceiling of the half bath, because they didn't try to get cute and put any sort of loft over it, it does have a remote controlled XL fan. So you don't have to be 10 foot tall or poke at it with a broomstick or anything like that to try to, get the airflow going. Now, what they call this here is 80-inch ceiling height. And not everybody maths that correctly. That's 6'8". Now, it's 6'8" at the top of the barrel, but this is only about a 2.5-inch barreled ceiling. So it's still at least 6.5 foot, if not more, on the sidewall, which means most people are going to find this pretty comfortable. Now, I've met some Jeffrey Giraffes out there who apparently, now that they're out of work at Toys R Us, they go camping, and they are very, very tall. You are going to need something a little special. Now, I don't use wide-angle camera lensing, so I get that all you're staring at is just a giant mattress on screen. That's because we're looking at the king bed option. Notice, though, that they build their bed slides a little wider where they can, and I'm not telling you that that's a large side shelf, but if you want a little place to put a phone down there, you could. I suspect they left these upper pockets open for some sort of CPAP usage. My understanding of that is there are many types of machines that you should not have above your head because you're basically drowning yourself at night. But I guess there are some machines that don't work that way. I'm not a CPAP user myself. I don't know, so I'll rely on the comment section to help educate us a little bit here. I did want to showcase, though, up in that corner, you do have an extra closet space. And I think that's really smart because this closet is above the half bath. The storage and the converter fuse box panel that we saw in the bathroom, that's what's down there. So instead of building storage where you'd need a 3-step stool, which you can't fit into a bathroom, they move storage over here where it makes more sense. I thought that was a really smart decision. I'm going to continue to spin you slowly round like a record, baby, and one of these days we're going to end up dead or alive like Bon Jovi. But the TV up here, smart TV, it is a little bit of a downward dog-facing angle. So I tell you what, I'm actually just going to do a Princess Leia Burt Reynolds sprawl across the bed here. When you're laying in bed, this is basically what you're going to see. Not bad. Plus, we got the campsite window coverage. Not a giant TV, but for evening settle down time. But check this out. The second space heat and fireplace up here. So my father had a giant fifth wheel way back when. He ran the electric fireplace in the living room and a 10x10 ceramic space heater that had less BTUs than this thing in his bedroom using only electric heating. Now, he didn't run water service through the RV, but he stayed in that thing several years through the month of October in Ohio, where it gets crazy cold for an event called Quarter Horse Congress. And those heaters will effectively heat a lot of space very quickly. And the thing is, they don't use any of the small fans. They only use the big XL fans in these things. I'm going to slide over here into the bathroom. And the headspace in the shower is awesome. That's actually one of the things I was really curious about. This being Rockwood's first front bath, like bath and a half model like this. They've never done this before. There are some manufacturers who their upper deck structures require them to elevate the bathroom floor, so it's not flush with the main floor up here. Whatever they're doing, they don't have that restriction, and I had tons of headroom in there as a result. Now, while you're looking at me, once again, doing a running man routine on the toilet over here, I do want to mention, you may have noticed a one-piece fiberglass shower enclosure. I think that's a little bit newer. What you'll see is on most of the Rockwood fifth wheels, or Flagstaff, same thing, you will see the one-piece showers. When you start getting into the smaller ones, closer to 30 feet, those may adopt a two-piece shower enclosure, but most of the Rockwoods will have a one-piece. It's very easy to see the difference. By the way, remember the full toe kick thing in the kitchen? That also persists here in the bathroom, and I like how they put that indirect lighting down there so you can see what you're doing at night. Now, I don't normally let people see me in the shower without charging you an OnlyFans subscription, so today's a freebie. Next time you're gonna pay. But big double vanity right here, but also small double lavatory. So I just had one of the big muckety mucks from Rockwood in here. Before I recorded this, I sent him a text. I'm like, hey, I am estimating that people are going to say, this is not awesome. This is way too tight. And I asked him to stand next to me and both of us simulate using the sink, and it was ridiculous. We were bumping elbows. If we were a married couple, we would have got divorced very quickly. I'm not telling you they're changing this. I'm telling you he acknowledged that, and maybe, based on your feedback, they might change something. I can't guarantee, but if you would be willing, once again, let me know what you think about that double sink setup in this bathroom. Now, a lot of builders, they will have a totally separate front walk-in closet off of their bathrooms, and they kind of just, the bathroom is the closet in a sense. Now, notice that if At the top there, that does have a like a hanging clothing rack, and obviously this is where you could put your stackable washer dryer, but those are also removable shelves. So this is dresser, this is hanging space, it's washer dryer, it's a little bit of whatever you want it to be, which I thought was actually pretty crafty and overall kind of cool in my opinion. But if you do install that stackable washer dryer, what's nice, you still have really good dresser space. Now you are killing potentially a chunk of hanging closet space, but remember, you still have a closet over here, and there was also that small closet over in the bedroom. Now, working our way downstairs, slide close road mode, you can see the entry door and left, the half bath over here on the right. So again, that's why I call it a traveler and guest half bath. The question for me on this floor plan is the fridge, but even though we're not going to get to the whole thing, if I'm not mistaken, sorry, I'm kind of squeezing my way through here. I do believe, yeah, okay. It's not ideal. Hold on. Can I actually even use this? Let me see here. If I get in and I back up, okay. Again, it's tight. It's not awesome. I can get to the fridge. I can get to the bathrooms. You can technically, hold on, I'm going to snake my way back out of here again, get up to the bed, but it's a rack and pinion bed slide, which is awesome because it's reliable more than the others typically, and heavy duty. The thing is, my understanding is rack and pinion slides are not ones that should be walked on or sat upon when closed, but there's a lot of structure below that. So it might be possible. Oh, wait a minute. It occurs to me I didn't show you the storage under the bed. Shoot! And there you go. But kind of a neat note, anything that they build in-house that is load-bearing or structural, they always make it with a welded aluminum cage. Now, as I mentioned when the video began, this is their first 40-footer, and it hits 40 foot on the nizzos. Basically, it is 40 feet, 0 inches from furthest point forward to furthest point backward. So there you have it. Again, when they get to their new 40-foot models, this is their first. I think they're planning on making more because their update notes say 6-point auto leveling now on the 40-footers. It says plural, kind of indicates to me. Now, we're looking at one today that says Rockwood Signature. Flagstaff Classic. Literally the same thing. So don't let the naming conventions get you gummed up there. They are identical. Now, up front here, you do have your Kurt Rotoflex shock dampening pinbox kind of system. It's interesting to me that they have it on this kind of fifth wheel dolly system. They apparently, I don't know, they pushed it in place, didn't forklift it, not sure. But up front there in your front compartment, Karen, is that? Well, they don't specifically have the perforation punch outs in there. That looks a little tight. I don't believe this is going to be like generator capable for most of your big like 5500 and up generators. Maybe a smaller unit of some size might fit in there, but I don't, like, that's one of those things we're gonna have to get some tape measures out and double check some things. You might notice the optional slide awnings being available here. What you won't see are any sort of cable slides, Schwintex, slim racks, anything like that. They are rack and pinion all the way around, even their bed slide. And this is something that more and more brands are actually like Cougar has re-adopted this. Maybe they didn't do it before, but Cougar has adopted this. Rockwood just kind of never quit doing it. They've just always gone with that heavy duty slide system. Now, one of the things that is kind of cool here, I was really curious to see how and if they would accomplish this, but it is a singular sewer outlet. And just behind that middle leveling leg right there, there is a handy helper stinky slinky sewer too. I got to quit coming up with all these stupid long names for everything, but that's just the mnemonics that my brain happens to memorize stuff with. You might have noticed in that docking center, there is like a little drinking water filtration system. And I appreciate how this door swings sideways instead of vertically. And I like the specialty hinge system they use here so that it kind of has a stop point and doesn't accidentally swing all the way open and punch a hole in the face of it on these. Now, mostly this RV has the compression latches. This right here is the only time you're going to see the old style butterflies because this is your propane enclosure and they are not by any sort of safety NHTSA code like National Highway Safety Transit Authority. They are not allowed to lock propane enclosures from the factory level. I see a lot of brands get kind of in trouble with that from time to time, but their experience obviously shining through here. I also discovered passing through here, those are motion activated lights, as you can see by the way that that one turned itself off over there. Now you see the TV hookups. It looks like they meant to create a little spot down here. Well, we got some kind of crazy factory noise going on behind us here. All right. But it looks like they meant to create a spot for those cable outlets to like run out of the RV while leaving the baggage doors closed, but didn't. And over here, they just had some extra space. So they said, why not open this up? Now what I'm wondering, okay, that's a 110 style. I was wondering if that was going to be 12 volt or 110 because I am finally starting to see a very small number, but some 12 volt outside fridges finally making their way into the marketplace. On our way up here, let me see if I can back up enough. I don't know. But we have an extended upper deck because a front bath and a half like that creates more room. So we have an extra large front awning. Plus, they did include the second awning over here on the face of the slide. Now, if you watch my videos, you probably can guess what I'm about to say. When the entry door is in the middle, right next to the split on the awning arms, on a rainy day, you're still going to get spritzed in the face a little bit, so kind of keep that in mind. Working our way down here, we have the Goodyear Endurance radial tire package with the torsion suspension and electronic anti-lock braking right down there, which is one of those safety features that I'm kind of blown away by the fact that it's not like federally required on these things. I really feel that that's a safety feature that would be good to have on every RV. This is something I'd be curious to know opinions on. I have never had any sort of major experience with balancing beads, and I've talked to, there's a Bell Tire right next door to my home store. I walked over there one day, bought the guy lunch, and picked his brain on those, and he kind of says, we never really have seen a huge impact on them, but some people really swear by them. So, I don't know. I'd be curious to hear from you folks what your opinion on those things are. Now, let's talk some construction points. Basically, the whole structure is a welded aluminum cage. About the only part of this RV that's not laminated, because even behind the nose cap's a 1-inch laminated wall, is the floor. The floor is a welded aluminum cage with plywood tongue and groove floor decking so you don't develop soft spots. Now, their wall construction is composite on the inside and outside layering. Some people have kind of freaked out about the fact that like 2 or 3 years ago, they stopped using Asdel on these, but they're using just a different brand of composite. Asdel is a brand name. Asdel is not the material. It's like Kleenex is a brand name of a facial tissue. Asdel is a brand name of a composite wall panel. The variety they're using now is from a company called NTXT. And the reason they made the switch is because they found it was adhering better within their lamination processes. So, not a bad thing. This is also something they're just always so good at. This is one of those things that a lot of people don't even realize or appreciate until they've had an RV or already bought the thing. The fact that they just didn't waste like any space behind that electric heater and whatnot. Then over here, just a little access panel to things like the back of the refrigerator. So thanks again for tuning in, everybody. As I typically do, I'll leave you some links in the video description to double check pricing and availability on one of these. If we happen to be sold out, our website will usually still have at least a listing indicating general MSRP. But understand, shipping distance alone could ding the price tag on one of these $4,000 to $6,000 potentially, and the different option packages can also have another impact on there. So that's why I don't put one price in a video, because it does, like, if I'm going to put a price on something, I want it to apply to that specific RV. I do not want you to feel like you run into a bait and switch thing. So when you're ready, we're ready. Let us know anything else we can do. And if there's a model you want to see that I haven't recorded yet from Rockwood or otherwise, leave me a note. I'll get it on my hit list. Can't promise I can get to them all, but I will try. So until next time, take care, stay safe, have fun, and happy camping, everyone.